is the home of the present Maharaja, the magnificent Umaid Bhawan Palace. Today, Gaj Singh II, the 37th Maharaja of Jodhpur, is hosting a royal wedding. 565 princely families once ruled a third of the subcontinent under the benevolent eye of the British. At India's independence in 1947, they lost their kingdoms. Then, in 1971, as India veered towards socialism, they were stripped of their titles, lands and generous state pensions. Today, there's still plenty of resentment from those born to rule.
From being a sort of special, exalted person, one became sort of persona non grata, which meant that the whole bureaucracy worked against you. The politics works against you. And that made life rather difficult.
But these days, life is rather good, and no expense is spared for the Hindu tikka ceremony, a men-only engagement ritual. The groom is the Crown Prince of neighbouring Dungapur. Father of the bride is Sundar Singh, Private Secretary to the Maharaja of Jodhpur. And this is opium, highly illegal in modern India. But as we'd later discover, these are people used to getting their way. The former warrior kings of Rajput aren't about to break tradition for anyone.
After the engagement, we exchange opium. Now, exchange opium means confirm of a treaty. Once there's a treaty, you sign the treaty from the both parties. If there's no signature in it, here you offer a opium and they give you back, means it's now confirmed.
And everybody's happy and relaxed?
Yes. Everybody's happy and relaxed, and now the ceremony is over, and in the evening you'll see the wedding ceremony.
The excesses of the old Indian royalty were legendary, and Umaid Bhawan Palace stands as one of the last great monuments to that age. It took 3,000 workers 15 years to complete this Art Deco fantasy in 1943. 82-year-old Shova Kanwar saw it all. These days, she's unofficial royal family historian and mentor to everyone from the Maharaja down. She insists the palace was built upon a foundation of altruism, a massive job creation scheme.
Jodhpur went through its worst drought and famine in the 20s. And at that time, our present Maharaja's grandfather, Maharaja Umaid Singh Ji, was the ruler. When he wanted to give money in the sectors where he thought financial help was needed, the people themselves said, we don't want charity. Give us work and pay us for it. And that is the main reason this palace was ever built.
Stripped of their kingdom, titles and income, the Jodhpur royals managed to hang on to the palace. In the 1970s, it was partly transformed into a luxury hotel, complete with live-in tourist attractions and exotic wardrobe. But Jodhpur, not surprisingly, is the home of the famous riding apparel of the same name.
I would say, Mark, that this is perhaps the only palace hotel which is still a palace. Because if the royal family are living here, you can say they're living in their own palace.
Over in the next wing, the wedding guests gather for an informal buffet lunch. Tradition is relaxed, so the non-Rajput women can join the men. Business is combined with pleasure, and this is as much a networking session for royalty who've made the transition from absolute rulers to businessmen and hoteliers. The Jodhpurs, regarded as the elite of the elite, their image and reputation unassailable. But already, many people gathered in this room were aware of a dark secret that had the potential to undermine the whole edifice. No one dared raise the scandal in the Maharaja's presence. Instead, talk turned to family success.
Well, most royalty are now looking into business aspects, whether it be turning their sort of assets into properties and resorts, or displaying their sort of artifacts in terms of museum and archaeology. And these are two aspects of business which we're sort of thriving around in this part of the world.
Shivraj Singh is the Crown Prince of Jodhpur. Educated at Eton and Oxford, this heir to the throne is reputedly one of India's most eligible royal bachelors. It's a misleading reputation, for he intends following the royal tradition of entering into an arranged marriage. These days, a touchy issue on the subcontinent. Not long after this wedding, the Crown Prince of Nepal would make world headlines by massacring his family, apparently unhappy with his parents' choice of bride. The Nepalese royals can trace their ancestry and traditions back to the Rajputs. But with this Crown Prince, there's not the slightest hint of anger or resentment.
Traditionally, it is arranged marriages. That's how we follow. It is to do with astrology. My grandmother and my parents will obviously find someone who's apt to the family. And then I get a choice. I'll get to meet her. And if I say I don't see myself being compatible, I can say, like, listen, I don't think it's going to work. And we take it from there. But it will be arranged.
The wedding night, and as the groom is led to his bride, commoners line the route to pay their respects. The princes may have lost their absolute power of life and death over these people, but they've gained formidable economic clout. In a city dependent on tourism, the Maharaja of Jodhpur is the biggest business in town. The groom is guided through to the women's section for the final ceremony. It's an increasingly rare display of harmony for such a large gathering of royals. A number of these families are engaged in bitter internal squabbles over money and property. At 3 a.m, they finally emerge as man and wife. The bride, 32-year-old Princess Subhagya, a Swiss-trained hotel functions manager, now weighed down by tradition and family expectation.